While we've got this engine out, we're going to spend some time kind of cleaning up the engine compartment. You can see it's been pretty dirty. I think this car's actually spent quite a bit of its life on a dirt road, and there's a lot of dirt stuck in stuff. So we're going to do that, get down here on the cradle with the suspensions on, and it's really greasy, so I'm not going to get crazy on this, but I'm going to clean it up quite a bit and get quite a bit of that stuff off. Probably won't spend any time painting this or anything, because it's really not in a place that's going to show, and it doesn't really follow along with the nature of what we're doing with the car. So anyway, we'll show you some shots after I get her all cleaned up here. I told you I was going to clean the engine compartment out. I did that. Looks a ton better now. It was just dusty as all get out, and this car was having some overheating problems, and what I found was that the air conditioning condenser core and the radiator core were both completely full almost of dust and cotton from cottonwood trees and stuff like that, to where air couldn't even flow through them. So I've blown those out and then hosed them out with the water to where now I can see daylight through them, which I couldn't even see daylight through them before. And so I think that possibly was part of their overheating problem with this car. But I think I'm ready to put that motor back in, and like I said, it's going to look much nicer in the cleaned up engine compartment. I think we'll be all set to go here shortly. So there we go, moving forward on the Crazy Dad Camaro. Guys, I wanted to do a little wrap up here on detailing the engine compartment. We spent maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours underneath here with hot soapy water and a rag, getting all of the dirt and grime cleaned off of things, and it's looking a ton better than what it did when we first started. It's not perfect. I'm not after perfection on this deal, but I just didn't like having it just looking gross and grimy. And even came up here and washed off the bottom of the new hood, and it's not perfection. I'm not looking for that, but just to step back, when I open the hood of this thing, I can say, hey, look, that thing looks pretty good in there. And that's what you can do with just some elbow grease and some hot soapy water and a rag, so it doesn't even cost you anything. I did have a couple of spots over here on this fender well, especially for, there was some grease in there of some kind that you know, was black and gross, and so I did take some lacquer thinner on a rag, and that stuff came right off, and touched up a few other places like that. You can see I didn't go overboard on cleaning things like that rubber hose there, and I've got a hose back in there, that vacuum line on the brake booster. I didn't mess with it. I didn't really mess with much of anything on the engine. I just cleaned up the engine compartment while we had it out and dropped that thing back in there. And so this is just one of those things you can do, that if you ever go somewhere and you do open your engine compartment, you won't be embarrassed by it being grody. So anyway, just a little thought there. Wrap up this little video on the Crazy Dad Camaro.